Now, for more on President Trump's trade regulations orchestrating pressure on national economies, lecturer, business and public policy analyst Kenneth Ikenwa joins me via Zoom. Good to have you join us.
Thanks for having me on, Precious.
So President Lula da Silva is now seeking relief from the 50% tariff. This tariff was imposed on Brazil in response to the country's, according to President Trump, the country's prosecution of its former president, Jair Bolsonaro. Is President Lula exploring the appropriate mechanism when you consider the reason for the tariff?
Well, when it comes to global trade and global trade politics, we can usually look at three angles, using a triangle to actually do that analysis. And at the tip of that triangle will be whether the issues that are actually on the table border on politics, or whether they actually border the base of that triangle, which may be issues that border on real trade and economics, or whether it actually comes down to polygimmicks. What I talk about gimmicks, and I call it polygimmicks. It will seem as though that for the most part, what Trump is trying to do with Brazil borders across both trade and economics and also polygimmicks. This is an individual who feels that his friend, who he considers a very good politician and an ally, is being embarrassed by the present president of the country. And on the basis of that, wants to use trade regulations and trade policies to actually suppress that government. And I think it will be unfair to be punishing the Brazilian people because of a personal relationship that you think you have with another president. But let's come back to the real crux of the matter. Is President Lula actually going about the right medium to address this 50% tariffs on Brazil, who has been a strong trade partner and trade ally of the United States? Even though the statistics actually shows that about 4% of the Brazilian trade is what comprises of what goes into America and comes in from America into Brazil. Well, the World Trade Organization was set up to actually, resolve disputes of this nature, to actually facilitate trades, excuse me, relationships between countries, and to ensure that there is a balance of trade. But when it comes to trade and economics, most countries actually strive to ensure that their trading relationships with other countries border more on surpluses than on deficits. And it would seem as though that what Trump is actually aiming at is to bring businesses back to America and to position the America to be on the gaining side of the economics pendulum, which means America will be having more trade surpluses and less trade deficits with countries, which has been the reverse of the case. But as for Lula, this may just be a formal procedure. I am sure that there will be certain other informal and diplomatic procedures that will be going away from the glare of the public and media to actually resolve this crisis sooner than later.
You mentioned the WTO, and of course it serves as the arbiter for resolving economic disputes. But if you remember, President Trump does have his own challenge with the WTO. In 2020, September 2020 precisely, it accused the WTO of letting China get away with murder. So I'm wondering, can the WTO then provide an enforceable path to resolving this particular conflict? Would Trump even want to listen to them?
All right. The case that is going on and the business cases that are arising from this new Trump 2.0 that we're seeing, and how it is causing a lot of vibrations, a lot of market turbulence and shakeouts across different regions and different continents of the economy, actually brings to bear and brings forth a reminder of what actually happened in George Orwell's Animal Farm. And it shows that the structure of the global economy is very much skewed, where some countries seem to be better and stronger at making policies and driving economic decisions and economic trajectory of the entire global economy than other countries. I would not want to go too much into the differences between whether what Trump is doing is right or wrong. I would rather say it is rather unfair to most countries in the world who have actually been trading partners with America. But it also brings us back to, to the academic sphere, where we begin to see that countries begin to pursue economic nationalism when they see that their citizens and their economy going forward with future projections of vision are not usually better off with present trading arrangements on ground. Now, what should the world do about it, or what will the world do about it? I have said it on TVC, and I've said it, and I will say it again. It is time for most nations, it is time for most regions to actually come together, sit together. integrate more within themselves. We have regions like we have region economic blocks like ECOWAS, like the ASEAN and other regional economic blocks. They need to have more integration between themselves now. We need to start looking for partners. I mean, Brazil should look for other partners, Nigeria should look for other partners. And these partners should not be far, should not be in essence, what I'm trying to say is that the American government cannot continue to be the catalyst, all right, that determines the direction, the trajectory of the global economy. And this is a good business case for countries to start learning, to start building relationships, to start integrating with one another and building relationships that will not actually depend on the American country, the American economy, or on the policies that actually emanate from the White House.
We'll continue to follow this development, interesting points you made there, and see how the WTO will attempt to resolve it. Thank you so much for your time. Lecturer and business policy analyst, thank you so much for your time.
Always my pleasure.